Gaza authorities report over 100 casualties after a new Israeli massacre targeted a gathering of starved Palestinians waiting for humanitarian aid packages at the Kuwait roundabout. The World Food Programme and the United Nations Organization said that Haiti is on the verge of a devastating famine crisis. And polls have officially opened in Russia for the country's presidential elections that will take place for the upcoming 3 days. Hello and welcome to From the South. My name is Belén de los Santos, and from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba, we begin with the news. Authorities report over 100 casualties and 200 injured after an Israeli airstrike targeted a gathering of starving Palestinians waiting for humanitarian aid packages at the Kuwait roundabout in southern Gaza. Civil defense spokesperson Mahmud Abbas revealed that Israeli warplanes initially opened live fire at Palestinians waiting for aid. Then the occupation's artillery shelled the roundabout, committing the massacre. The casualties were transported to 4 different hospitals in Gaza City and northern Gaza. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Health in Gaza said rescue missions to pull out individuals from underneath the rubble are still ongoing despite the difficulties and dangers on the field. And citizens in the towns of Han Yunis, south of the Gaza Strip, on Tuesday denounced the total devastation of their neighborhood as a result of the total Israeli siege. In this way, Gaza residents lamented the destructions of their homes as they were able to return to them after the withdrawal of the occupation forces from the Hamad neighborhood. Meanwhile, the Palestinian Red Crescent Society reported that its teams managed to recover the bodies of 15 martyrs in this area. It should be noted that after 161 days of genocide in the Gaza Strip, the number of Palestinians killed by Israel has risen to 31,774 and more than 73,134 wounded, mostly of children and women.
Soy Abu Samer Fedjani.
I am Abu Samer Fedjani from the city of Hamad, from Tower 7. We went out. They just took us out, threatening us with invasion and a belt of fire. We went out through the road to Halaba, and we came back 10 days later. What is this? The city was not like this. We are peaceful people. We are civilians, and they know it very well. And this is happening to us. Is this the program of the State of Israel? Like this? First, the planes came in to cover the tanks that raided Hamad. They dropped stun bombs. Those bombs were worse than missiles. They caused riots and panic. We all gathered in our apartment on the first floor. When it was done, they ordered us to leave with a megaphone, to all leave Hamad. They dropped leaflets. Then they said no, don't go out, which calmed us down. And then they said, everyone to leave for Asda. They had set up checkpoints there. We had to evacuate just like that, without taking anything with us.
And on the first day of Ramadan, Israeli occupation forces prevented thousands of worshippers from reaching the AlAqsa Mosque. The occupation forces were deployed extensively around the checkpoints of Kalandiya to the north of Jerusalem, Zaytuna to the east, and Bethlehem to the south. The agents turned back thousands of worshippers and did not allow them to reach the AlAqsa Mosque under the pretext of not obtaining the necessary permits. They also prevented all the medical teams of the Jerusalem institutions from entering the mosques and attacked several of them. And while this is going on, also in Palestine, President Mahmud Abbas appointed Muhammad Mustafa as the country's prime minister amid a critical situation in the Gaza Strip. During his appointment, the head of state appointed the new prime minister to draw plans to reunify the administration in the occupied West Bank and Gaza, in addition to focusing solutions on reforms of the government, security services, the economic, and also corruption. Mustafa, who replaces Mohammed Stayeh, was chairman of the Palestinian Investment Fund and economic advisor to President Abbas. A meeting between Fatah and Hamas is expected to take place this week in the Russian capital of Moscow. Efforts mounted on Thursday to get more aid into the war-devastated Gaza Strip, where the UN warns of famine and desperate residents have stormed relief convoys. After mediators failed to reach a truce between Israel and Hamas for the Muslim holy month of Ramadan, which started on Monday, fighting continued with at least 69 deaths over the previous 24 hours.
I can secure a cover for my tent. I sleep on the sand and among worms. I see death with my own eyes. Hunger is killing me. Poverty is killing me. I struggle to secure a can of milk. I would die for a bucket of milk. No one cares about the other.
Gaza Strip is dying slowly, if not from the missiles, then from hunger. If not from hunger, then from dehydration. The dehydration devours young children, and the children are dying of hunger.
We go now to Yemen, where Houthi leader Abdul Malik al-Houthi said that the rebel movement operations will continue as long as the aggression and the siege on Gaza also continues.
The supporting operations this week were 12 operations targeting ships and barges carried out with 58 ballistic and wind missiles and drones in the Red Sea, the Arabian Sea and the Gulf of Aden. This time it reached unprecedented levels, with 3 operations reaching the Indian Ocean. The total number of targeted ships and barges were 73.
Now let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. Other stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. The World Food Programme and the United Nations Organization said that Haiti is on the verge of a devastating famine crisis. The agency's country director, Jean-Martin Bauer, explained at a press conference that gangs control access to Port-au-Prince by road, disrupting the food supply chain. The food emergency affects more than 1.4 million people as the population reduces the quantity of food and what they consume is of poor quality. The agency also announced that it is preparing supplies for distribution in Port-au-Prince despite the social instability the city is experiencing.
Baseline level of food insecurity.
The basic level of food insecurity in Haiti is 4.35 million people. That's a huge number for a country of 11 million people, a huge number. WFP has been helping about 2 million of them. Last year, we reached 2 million people with the essential food assistance. We are giving priority to the most vulnerable. The ones I am most concerned about are the 1.4 million people who are one step away from starvation. So we focus our resources on that group. And within that group, the most vulnerable are displaced.
In this context, the United Nations plans to set up an airbridge between Haiti and the Dominican Republic to get more aid into the crisis-wrecked Caribbean island and to transfer its personnel. The United Nations missions in Haiti said that the airbridge will ensure a seamless delivery of humanitarian aid and support services to Haiti and facilitate the movement of its own personnel in and out of the country. According to the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, more than 400 incidents hampering aid access have been recorded across the country since the start of the year 2024, including more than 70 in the first week of March. We stay in Haiti, where the situation of violence worsens after citizens demonstrated against the convening of a presidential council following the resignation of Prime Minister Ariel Henry. More on this in the following report.
On Monday, Haitian Prime Minister Ariel Henry resigned in a context characterized by the control of criminal gangs in 80% of the country, which have communicated that they will not accept any decision taken abroad. For their part, Haitian parties and movements should complete the formalities for the installation of a provisional governing council. The announcement was made on Monday at a high-level meeting convened in Jamaica by the Caribbean community CARICOM, although the Haitian State Department has affirmed that the body will be ready on Thursday. All this had led activists to hold protests in rejection of the Presidential Council that will take power in the Caribbean nation and any type of international intervention, as they claim, that is Haiti who must solve its own problems. In this sense, the protests took place in front of the Canadian Embassy in Port-au-Prince, because Canada is one of the key countries in Haitian politics, along with France and the United States, which participated in the extraordinary meeting of the Caribbean community that established the 9-member council. Protests are taking place despite a ban of demonstrations and the imposition of a curfew throughout the Western Department, which will remain in place until April 7. For his part, the foreign intervention approved by the United Nations is a standstill, since Kenya, the country leading it, announced that it will postpone the mission until a new constitutional authority is established.
The members of state of the Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of Our America, the People's Trade Treaty, ALBA TCP, expressed their concern about the situation in the Republic of Haiti. The statement was made through a communique where it expressed that its complex situation requires immediate international attention and assistance to this population, whose welfare and development are the main reasons for any action to be taken in Haiti today. On the other hand, the regional bloc also said that interventionism has historically represented a major failure for the development of the economic and social welfare of the Haitian people, thus urging not to repeat the past mistakes, considering the serious history of foreign interventions that have caused so much structural damage to the integrity of this nation. The Bolivarian Alliance also reaffirmed that it is through mechanisms of effective cooperation and solidarity, the respect for sovereignty and self-determination of the peoples, international law, and the guarantee of fundamental rights of the Haitian people that will be the way to help this sister republic overcome the difficult situation it is going through. The statement ended by reiterating its support for the sovereignty, independence, revolutionary history, and self-determination of the Haitian people, so that through the international cooperation and solidarity, and committed to the proclamation of Latin America and the Caribbean as a zone of peace, our Haitian brothers and sisters can recover the peace, the dignity, and the well-being they deserve. We go now to Argentina. A few meters from the Congress, police repressed a demonstration against layoffs at the National Institute of Cinema and Audiovisual Arts. By means of a large repressive operation, members of the police of the city of Buenos Aires attacked hundreds of people who were protesting in front of the historic Gaumont Cinema located in the square of the two Congress. The agents used tear gas, pepper gas, shields, and sticks. The peaceful protest, led by union organizations of the Inca workers, documentary filmmakers, artists, and actors, denounced the serious underfunding of the sector, the dismissal of at least 138 people in the last few days, and the intention to close the centenary Gaumont Cinema.
There have been a lot of productions stopped since the government started, and it will continue like this for a while. And now what they are saying is that they want to sell the Gaumont cinema. They want to cut everything related to festivals. They want there to be no more festivals. They want to cut the Mar del Plata Film Festival, Historical, Ventana Sur, and all the festivals financed by Inca want to reduce it.
And in Chile, the authorities reported that the fires that broke out in the Cordillera and Alegre Hills in Valparaíso region are under control, and so far there are no reports of deaths or injuries caused by these fires. During the promulgation of the private security law, President Gabriel Boric said that according to the preliminary balance, damage to 20 houses has been confirmed, although work continues in the affected area and the figures could increase. The flames started in a forest area but quickly spread to inhabited areas, so that the National Service of Prevention and Response to Disasters decreed a red alert in the commune and ordered the evacuation of 8 sectors. We have a final short break coming up, but before, we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience. You can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and also share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with teleSUR. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. The presidential elections in Russia officially started on Friday, where in the next 3 days, Russian citizens will elect the president who will lead the country for the upcoming 6 years. In this way, Elia Pamfilova, president of the Central Electoral Commission, confirmed the opening of the polls in her nation. In this sense, Pamfilova noted these elections will be the first elections using remote electronic voting and lasting more than a day. Also, for the first time, the president of Russia will be elected by the residents of the Donbas and the regions of Kherson and Zaporizhia, incorporated into Russia in September 2022 after holding popular referendums. Delegations from 36 countries and 5 regional bodies will attend the presidential elections in Russia as observers. It was disclosed on Thursday by the Vice President of the Senate, Konstantin Kosanchov. The senator specified that 30 national parliaments will be present, as well as interparliamentary assemblies of international organizations, such as the Commonwealth of Independent States. Also, the parliamentary assemblies of the Collective Security Treaty Organization, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, the Organization for Islamic Cooperation, and the Central American Parliament will attend the elections. More than 200 parliamentary observers and dozens of electoral experts have received accreditation today through the Federal Assembly, and the number is expected to increase. On Friday, Elia Pamfilova, chairwoman of the Russian Central Election Commission, noted that from February 25th to March 14th, more than 2.3 million people voted early in the presidential elections. In this connection, it is good to note that the 2024 election included the regions of the Donetsk and Lugansk People's Republic, Zaporizhia, and Kherson. On the other hand, the Electoral Authority noted that in addition to more than 94,000 polling stations in Russia, 295 polling stations will be open abroad in 144 countries. In this sense, 4 candidates are running for president, including current leader Vladimir Putin, who is running as an independent and also is the favorite in the polls. We move on to other news. In Italy, at least 60 migrants died after a rubber dinghy ran into trouble in the Mediterranean Sea, trying to reach Europe from Libya. According to the humanitarian group SOS Mediterranean, 25 survivors were rescued by the ocean Viking vessel in cooperation with Italian coast guards. The survivors told their rescuers they had set off from Zawiya on the Libyan coast several days before the tragedy. It is not immediately clear how the 60 people affected lost their lives. According to the United Nations International Organization for Migrations, 3,101 migrants died or were reported missing in the year 2023, attempting to cross the Mediterranean to Europe. And Chadian candidates for the presidential election on May the 6th are submitting their candidatures to the Constitutional Council. The civilian prime minister of the military junta in Chad, Success Masra, and the transitional president, General Mahamat Idris Deby Itno, have already announced their candidacies. Chad's junta-appointed prime minister announced on Sunday that he would contest presidential elections set for May 6th, just days after incumbent General Mahatma Idris Deby Itno announced his own candidacy. Success Masra, a former opposition leader, returned from exile and signed a reconciliation deal with Deby Itno before becoming premier this year. Masra, who is age 40, unveiled his election bid at a campaign meeting attended by hundreds of supporters of his Transformers Party. We go now to Senegal, where opposition leader Ousmane Sonko and presidential candidate Bassirou Diomaye Faye were released from prison following the approval of a general amnesty law. A crowd of Senegalese celebrated in front of the house of political leader Ousmane Sonko in Dakar. Both leaders were released from prison on Thursday afternoon in the Senegalese capital, 10 days before the elections. This after last week the National Assembly approved an amnesty law condoning crimes committed since 2021 during anti-government protests. The presidential elections will be held next March 24th after strong demonstrations against the attempt of President Macky Sall to postpone the polls. And the Caf Cabana Palace, a century-old landmark hotel in Rio de Janeiro with an all-white facade, has been given a new face with colored windows covered in layers of vinyl in yellows, blues, pinks, greens, and reds that now light up the building on the Brazilian beach. The in-situ work and creation by French artist Daniel Buren is on display through September. In his new intervention, the visual effects change throughout the day depending on the exposure of the vinyls to light. In addition to the 100th window of the iconic facade, Buren also intervened the pergola at the main entrance, which projected a chromatic carpet into the grounds. This work at the Caf Cabana Palace, which celebrated its 100th anniversary last year, is the second in a series entitled Colorful Stops at the luxury hotel chain Belmont, owned by French giant LVMH. And like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and also on TikTok. For teleSUR English, my name is Belén de los Santos. Thank you for watching.